Good evening, everybody. This is a meeting of the Woodbridge Conservation Commission, on November 16th at starting at 2 p.m. The first item on our agenda is public comment. I do see that we have some visitors tonight. Anyone who's here came to make public comment? Doesn't look like it, and I haven't received anything in the email. Next up is our minutes from October 19th, last meeting. Are there any concerns about the minutes that I sent out?
I didn't see any concerns. No.
Okay. Here.
So I move that we accept the minutes from the October meeting, 2023.
I second it.
Thank you, Val. Thank you, Sharon. And if there's no other comments, then all of that approve.
Valerie, move your speaker. Is that right? Oh, you can't hear any of us? Okay, talk louder.
Yes, a little bit.
Okay.
I will talk louder. Thank you for letting me know. Let's do that again then. All in favor of the adoption of the minutes of October?
All in favor?
All are in favor? And there's no dissent on that. Sharon had attended the CASIWIC conference this past month. CASIWIC standing for the Connecticut Association of Conservation
And in the
Commissions and Inland Wetland Commissions. A mouthful.
CACIWAC.
CACIWAC? Oh,
CACIWAC.
I always said CASIWIC, so.
Sounds like Kathy Wick.
Right. Actually, when I dictated into my phone, that's what happened.
That's what happened.
So
Okay.
yeah, I went there with Paul and Barbara, and it's a lovely setting up in Bristol, and there were about 300 people there. There was lots of literature and many displays, and some of them were particularly interesting for me, like stream side buffers, which I think is related to the importance of that protection on the Merritt property and stream protection.
On Manila Avenue,
The Merritt Avenue,
strip
right.
there. Yep.
And then watersheds, it talked about watersheds. There was a keynote speaker who was really quite interesting about the concern about increased water tide levels and he was involved in projects to prevent the destruction of the populated and industrial portions of Connecticut. And there's some projects that have actually started. There's one in Bridgeport, it's fairly Stamford. Anyway, I didn't know anything about those, and it's not a huge thing, but it probably should be, and doesn't affect Woodbridge so much. And then all three of us went to a really important one on greenways with a woman named Kim Bradley.
Yep.
And she actually, I think as of this week, approved our greenway. She intimated that it was likely to happen. It hadn't yet. The vote was Tuesday.
I'll comment on it in coming up.
But she talked about grants and her willingness to help people work through grants about trail maintenance, acquiring land, sort of even just doing the planning to acquire land or the planning of a project, which often is separate from the actualization of the project. And it sounds like there's quite a bit of money. There seems like there's quite a bit of interest in these grants, but it seems like she would, if we had some activity around that she could help us ferry it through and highlight what the board was interested in. Then I went to one on food waste and recycling, and that's sort of separate from what we're doing, but like 32% of all food gets wasted, and the importance of composting and recycling and using, and I'd love to help the town with that a little more. And the next one was more wetlands geared, but actually Maria Kane was there, and she brought up, there were lots of good questions, but one is she mentioned vernal pools, and this guy reiterated how important vernal pools are, and that we thought maybe a project that could possibly Kim Bradley could be associated with would be identifying where the vernal pools are in our area.
Oh.
And that would be a really good criteria for what land to save, because those are sort of the key of the amphibian life cycle, and if they aren't vernal pools, there's no breeding ground, and they have to be protected in quite a wide expanse. It's not just like the 50-foot review area,
Yeah,
and that might be an important, and I don't know if there's a way to, but the School of Forestry or something might be a good person to talk to about that. But I think that next year we should put it in our budget to have the people, Chris Sullivan helped us with that this time, and there was no problem, but I think we might want to make it a budget item so that it's easy to go.
for the
Coming
fee,
in.
for the attending the
Yeah.
conference, yeah. What was the fee, do you remember?
I don't.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Does anyone have any
There-
questions?
Yeah, wanted to open it up to Joy and Val before I, few different things I'd like to comment on there.
No, that sounds
Good-
really
Good
interesting.
information.
And, in the recent, Master Gardener program, we talked about water and, what's happening, how everything's ending up in the sound, it's ending up in our streams and then our rivers, and one way to do that is to, have this way to retain it, whether it's, water gardens, rain gardens on your property, or rain barrels and things of that nature. Acre and a half zoning kind of help, it's good that we have that in Woodbridge, but we could even be doing more, because things do, I live on Barberry Lane, things just shoot right down and, cause it's kind of like on a hill, and it ends up in, we have the vernal pools, we have a lot of, those little streams that end up in the bigger streams and end up in the sound. So if we could do, do things like that, if we're gonna do that with the vernal pools, but even composting or any of these initiatives, that we could get a way to maybe find some grants and educate the town people on doing these practices on their own properties would be a great initiative.
Was there any indication that vernal pools are cataloged? Is that something that,
I didn't get any indication. of
any
that.
sense of that? Okay,
No, it was one of the ideas that came out was
yeah. I know it's a
Valued
concern
resource.
of the Inland Wetlands Commission when
Mhm.
reviews are done. But I didn't know there's, because they're mapping of wetlands, but I guess that's not fine enough to get
vernal
to,
pools are a little trickier too, 'cause
vernal
they're only
pools, because they're temporary.
intermittent,
Yeah, intermittent.
consistently intermittent.
Would that be something that the environmental science class might, identify that, like help us do that in Woodbridge if we could catalog it somehow? That they are intermittent, like you said, but they're there, every year.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's an idea.
Interesting.
It's usually spring when that would have to
Right.
happen, and that's not a good time to get volunteers.
Did Miss Bradley, is that her name?
Mm-hmm.
Did she, talking about the grants now, did she talk about any
Oh.
kind,
Go on, I just remembered.
any kind of lead time, or would it be coming from this committee, or would it be coming more from
It can
the
come-
town itself? And how can we
Well,
start?
something important that you made me think of is there's an educational thing on January 11th at 1 p.m., I think. It's a video. It will teach people about the grants and the grant process, so I think you should, I'm 80% sure that's the timing of it. I probably have it in my notes. Say that, what you said again, Valerie, so.
Well, basically, would it be coming from our committee, or would it be coming from the administrative side of Woodbridge, more in-house to get
I
these
think it
grants?
can come from our committee, don't you, Tim?
The-
I think
the
maybe the,
initial identification of where we might seek a grant would come from us, certainly. And we find a need. If there's a need in the course of what we do and we identify, it comes from us. The exploration of it can come for us, but at a point in the process,
the Board of
when you
Selectmen.
get to the end of the process, it's the town that has to apply for the grant. The town is the applicant and the recipient of the grant. And then so in the point in the process, from the beginning of the need and what we think would be appropriate, what we would understand what would be go into the grant application, we would start working with the town to get the grant done. Now, how much we do and how much the town does, we haven't done one, so I'm not specifically knowledgeable about that, but I believe it's somewhat of a shared, we'd have to give a lot of input to the town in order to have the grant be completed.
Land Trust can do it too, though. So it's not just the town, it's not just towns, it's other organizations that are involved in protection of the land that are not for profit.
Yeah.
And we could even work with them as well as the town. I mean, nothing we can do can occur without the town's approval, but
Yes.
certainly
Yeah.
it's our initiation and passing it by.
Yeah, I imagine some grants are, the land trust is eligible for, and then some grants
No.
only go to municipalities?
I don't think so.
No?
I don't think so. And also they're rolling, so there's no
Yeah.
like deadline.
Right,
So
Yeah.
we can do it, we can submit it. I guess they like to cluster them so they can do a ceremony in spring or something, but they're still,
Yeah.
can be submitted
yeah,
anytime.
yeah. It's my hope that we will finish up our classification properties, and then grants will be one of the items we focus on next year. And so it's important. Could you just note down the specifics again on that video for next time? And would you bring it up in the next,
In
our
the
next
video?
meeting? You said a video training for on
Oh,
grants.
yeah.
Just so when perhaps
Let me see if I can,
the entire commission's here, we can mention it. Because it is something, as I just said, we would like to focus on, so it might be good. If it's an appropriate video, I don't know what, for training, I don't know what it's on. So maybe you can,
yeah, I think I wrote it down. And so
Okay,
if
right.
if I have the exact time, I'll tell some. Yeah, January 11th at 1 PM
what is the,
on Wednesday.
What is
It's
the
an
training?
RFP. I think we'd have to get in touch with Kim Bradley to make sure we got the link to get involved.
is it just how to do their
That
grant
was my
application?
impression, is that what type of things are available and how to go about doing that process.
So it's a what's available?
She wasn't that specific. She said it would just be good for anyone who was interested in doing a grant
Okay.
that would be helpful.
This is Zoom, you're talking?
I think it's a Zoom. She wasn't specific about that either, but that was my impression.
I'll shoot her a note.
Okay, yeah, she's really, and one more thing, she's willing to come and speak to us,
Oh.
which I think would be great. She's very articulate and is very well versed in this, so I think that would be a neat thing.
Okay. I'm going to come back to that in a second. And the last thing before we push on, which we should, the food waste is also of interest. I think that does sort of could fit in our bailiwick. But I also know that with the town having a sustainability committee, that I think is part of what they've started to look at.
And lots of towns are doing it, and
Yeah.
she was not that was a different lecture, so that's a different person within who's also hired as a Connecticut employee, whose name I don't remember, but it would be on the program. And I think she's more than willing to talk to anybody and say what other towns are doing and how they're, a town compost or encouraging home compost, or I think it's low-hanging fruit for
Yeah.
people to learn how to do that.
We gotta get on it though, because the waste management situation is changing. We're running out of our for disposal here in, I think Bridgeport or whatever, like that is going to be closing soon. And when it does, they'll be having to bring the trash further, probably out of state.
Mhm.
And that's gonna, it's gonna be a huge, huge cost to towns, or, I pay a trash hauler, but it doesn't
Yeah.
matter, it's the bill will go up substantially. But if we can reduce what goes into our trash, compost at home, recycle, whatever, then you can get a lot of weight out of your trash, but you can also do amazing things to your yard. As my fellow gardener Sharon knows, like if you can compost, you can, completely amend your soil,
Yep.
but there's an education that needs to happen with it. But I think you have enough people in town that know how to do it, that the sustainability committee, that they can get that to happen.
I need some training. Just today, I washed out my failed compost bin.
Your failed compost? Oh,
It
no.
was a wet mess. I'll try again.
Farmer Steve, I'm sure, would be happy to show you how to compost.
I may be untrainable. I will reach out to the sustainability just to find out what they're doing, where at least we'll know some sense of that. But I do really think I recall them doing it.
It's gonna be a hot
Okay.
item, I think. It's gonna,
Yeah.
There was some percentage they threw out, like it was 20% of the, or even maybe more.
I think it's like 30% of we could save 30% of the weight of our trash, our
Well,
waste
I think
stream,
it's-
just with food,
it's
compostable items.
It's an economic concern to the town, and because it's a concern to the town, it's gonna be turned to the taxpayers, so. I'll just close that by saying that, we, as a commission, are members of Cassaway, along with the Townsend and Wetlands Commission, but for some reason, I have not been on the mailing list that I was supposed to have, and so I have lost, hadn't gotten mailings, didn't distribute it, so I'm glad you found out about it, Sharon. But I'm taking steps to rectify that.
Great.
Okay. Next, our initiatives. Just any status as we would need. I'll talk about the Historical Society status, just very briefly. We made a contact with somebody to look at a design for the markers, historical markers, and we started that process, and the list of historical sites is still draft and still being reviewed by some other historical society members beyond the initial set. And that's the brief update.
And Tim, I think that might even be something that is grantable. Those
Yes.
signs and stuff.
Yeah, yes, it would be. Yeah, once we, and there the Historical Society has gotten some grants for some signage they're putting up at the Darling House.
Uh-huh.
And they're, as I talk to them, they have another go at the grant. So that may be the passageway, or we may, have to look for a way to fund some of that as well. But that's still a little down the road, we haven't gotten there. But yes, yeah, I think very much so. They're plugged into the historical kind of
Right.
side of it, which this, I think, would fall under. So, it's good stuff. Tree preservation, I don't think most folks aren't here or have been involved in that, so we won't have any.
Didn't Paul send you an email associated with that?
Not a tree preservation.
Oh, okay.
I don't recall that.
Yeah, maybe
Sure.
I'm mistaken.
Okay. On the items of interest, we're going to talk about the pulmonary pathway, so I don't think we need comment there. On the town trails group, just a couple activities to mention. We've put together a list of project ideas for the Boy Scout Eagle projects, mostly, maybe some smaller projects. One of the advisors talked to me about that they do look for projects for other ranks where they need some service activity, and it's a little bit training for when they go for their Eagle. So we've put together that list and sent it on to one scout, Eagle Scout advisor so far. And in the next couple days, I'll be sending it to another troop, and hopefully I'll make contact with the third troop and get it off to them as well. And then I had a discussion with Steve Minot today concerning providing connectivity to the nice trail system they have at the farm from the surrounding, for the surrounding neighborhood. There are at least 3 streets, if not 4, that could be connected into the farm,
The Massaro Farm.
into the Massaro Farm, giving the neighborhoods access, not just to the trail system, but to the farm itself, and going and hopefully participating in whatever activities and the food shares. And it's been one of our goals is to provide people access to the town's open space. So Steve was was amenable to that. So he was good with it. We'll go and visit with their board, and then appropriately go to the Board of Selectmen, talk about those connections. But they're all public streets that border right on the property.
Nice.
So, I'm kind of excited to get that going.
Grand possibility too. She mentioned.
And it's easy because it's flat, it's mostly flat is the way I know it, and so it'd be a nice, quick, I think, hit for everybody.
Great.
And as you may or may not know, Jason Morrill, who was our past chair, is on the board of Massaro now as well. So Jason's been part of that conversation. We will go forward with that. Anybody have any other comments on the items of interest? 124 Seymour Road still on the market.
Oh,
That's where the blue trail goes through.
yeah.
And it's the house, but behind it are 8 really beautiful acres adjacent to Massaro. The price has come down substantially.
Seymour Road
Yeah.
near Massaro?
No, it's not near Massaro. I'm sorry,
Oh.
if I
Yeah.
implied that, I
67.
didn't mean to. That's I'm just jumping topics here,
I see.
but that's been on our
Yeah.
items of interest, and so there may be time to look at that again, to see what might be done to acquire that open space if
That'd be
possible.
great. Interesting idea.
Member comments?
Not I.
Val or Joy, Sharon, any other topics you want to comment on?
I don't have any comments.
All right, the other 2 items I have, just a comment there. As Sharon, you alluded to, we did get approval for our Greenway expansion plan from the Connecticut Greenways Council, so that's the end of that long road. And and the other part I wanted to mention with that, Kim Bradley, talked to her some months ago now, after we had provided them with the expansion plan so they could consider it. She asked about our hosting their annual event where they recognize all the towns that have gotten their greenways approved in that calendar year.
Really?
Yeah.
When would that be?
In the early summer is what I remember.
When did she need to know by?
She didn't say.
Because I think that would be something to bring up with, one, the new board,
Yeah,
if there's new people, and two, we have a larger group that could, because people would all need to be involved, if that were the case. It seems like to create I don't know what it would entail, but it would entail something.
well, they provide the refreshments and that type of thing, and they do the revision. So it's mostly providing the space, and they would sort of guesstimate the size of the space we would need. I thought it'd be a nice thing if we hosted it when the old firehouse was renovated and there was meeting space there.
I doubt the
But
firehouse will be
that's
renovated
not
in
gonna
the
be,
summer.
this was 6 months ago, and that was my hope at the time,
Mhm.
but I'm not, realistically, I don't know that it'll happen, but there are
But
other
it's a
spaces in town.
summertime- It's a summertime event, we could have it outside even,
Mhm.
you know, if there was a space that people could access the trails even.
Okay. So let me, she'll,
Depends on the community gardens.
um,
Anyway,
it involves inviting all the other towns, so we don't know how many towns that is, and we don't know how big it is. So it's something that we'll approach next year, maybe something we wanna pursue, maybe not, but, um,
interesting.
yeah. But, when you made the comment about her offering to come to speak to us, that might be a time, we could almost combine that.
Uh-huh. Oh,
That was the thought, maybe.
maybe.
Hmm.
Like she could come and talk to us and give us some idea of what we need to do to prepare for that.
Well, there's that too. Yeah, that would, that would work. Okay. All right, there was, Paul, on our behalf, just went and checked with the town on the progress of having the theater lot purchased from the state of Connecticut.
I don't know anything about the theater lot.
Some months ago, and you may have been absent at that meeting, there was a, the state had, someone approached them to buy one of the theater lots. You're familiar with the
Oh,
theater
those
lots?
little lots?
The little
Oh,
lots.
oh, that's what they are. Okay.
Yeah,
You mean the teeny little ones that we,
yes, and we had
Hmm.
recommended the Board of Selectmen that they do acquire the lot.
right,
And the Board of Selectmen agreed, and they voted, they contacted the state and said they'd like to exercise the right of first refusal and acquire it for $1,500. And,
now I know what you're talking about. I just didn't know they
Okay.
were called theater lots.
well, it's because they were given away as prizes for drawings,
Yeah, got it.
people who went to the theater. The question was, has there been any progress? And the answer is no. The state has not really responded back yet. So it's still pending with the state.
Okay.
So there was an update that
Got it.
Paul brought up last time or the time before, I forget which, but Tony Genovese mentioned to me that he wanted to pass on that update.
Got it.
Was there an expiration on that at all, after the offer was given?
No, I think because we filed within the Board of Selectmen filed within the time frame that they were gonna exercise the right of first refusal, they've met the timeline. Now it's just the state drawing up the contract or whatever needs to be done,
Oh, okay.
whatever the process is. But the town's taken care of, it's just not done yet. And next, our meeting calendar extends into next year.
Your what?
Our meeting calendar for the Conservation Commission. We extended it last time. We will adopt the new calendar in January.
Is it January where, we either get reappointed or new people get appointed?
Yes, which is why I thought that we shouldn't adopt the calendar for the bulk of next year now or in December. And we extended it a couple months so we could let the newly seated board vote on the calendar. Doesn't mean that we shouldn't, think about your regular Thursday meeting schedule and make sure there's no conflicts with holidays or other
Mhm.
activities where somebody wants to make a section, we change it. So if you would make a note to look at your calendars out that far, or if you note any holidays, reasons why we want to change it, I'm going to draft up the regular Thursday meeting calendar, but just, let me know if you see anything that would cause us to change a date.
Okay.
Either the week before or the week after to better accommodate. Sometimes you run into a conflict with Thanksgiving or so on and so forth. That's all I have there. And we move on to pollinator pathway.
Pollinator pathway.
The item number 7, we were going to discuss.
Don't we need to wait till Paul gets here to do that effectively?
Well, there were two items, and what we talked about last time was talking about the approach the commission might want to take for around pollinator pathways. To be I'm going to quickly turn this over to Joy, who speaks to it
Well, I'd like to speak to it
much more
first.
accurately than I can. This is Paul. So I was saying there's the one part which was what's our overall approach, and the second part was the pilot. I think as Paul ended
Well,
up calling it.
I think that's putting the cart before the horse, personally, and I feel strongly about it. It's that we haven't had a successful outcome, and planting plants and coordinating different groups takes a lot of effort, and we haven't proven ourselves to have that ability. And when we're about to switch to being a bunch of possibly new people, and we're committing those people to do a whole program and make this just the pilot, I think that's to be decided in January, personally. And I think that I'd like to have a lot more success and see that we can actually create this pilot before we create the agenda for multiple projects. I think people don't realize how much effort it takes to plant and organize and tend. And if we have 5 or 6 projects going, I don't think we have the manpower or the structure. And I think we need to try one before we try many.
Well, I agree with that 100%. So the discussion I was talking about having was not about trying to plan multiple projects. It was to answer the question, what's the role of the Conservation Commission in vis-a-vis pollinator pathways? If the thought was, it was expressed that the commission could have a role for the town, and that pollinator pathways would be a town initiative, not just an initiative of the 4-H club or an initiative of a Boy Scout troop, but it would be a town initiative. And it is that concept that I thought we should talk about and understand. If we're going to do a pilot, how does it fit into that overall initiative? I mean, what's our role? Because I think we have to understand both, but I'd like to understand what the Conservation Commission what role it's going to play. Is that, Joy, do you want to build on that, add to that,
Well,
clarify that?
when we first started talking about this months ago, when it, you know, I just made the recommendation that I think that it's newly been proclaimed in Woodbridge that we are part of the pollinator pathway. But it's like, we're at stage one, you know, like, we've proclaimed that, so that's great. Now, you know, the 4-Hers are doing some outreach, but it's small. If many hands make light work, right? So my idea was that, you know, we could maybe, with an incoming, Board of Selectmen, you know, that we could maybe go and ask the Board of Selectmen to come up with a vision of what Woodbridge could become as the, you know, for their pollinator pathway, you know, and then we could have initiatives based on that. And if, I would think that Conservation Commission would have a key role to play in that. And then what we could do is really just identify all of the different boards, commissions, clubs, whether they're youth clubs, you know, high school garden clubs or science, whatever. We could really get that sort of through to everybody so that everyone's on the same page. That would be true, you know, how we mentioned composting or, you know, any kind of other, you know, sustainability type program that would be good for the town, that we would then take some time to, you know, get that through to all of our residents and do some education and outreach. Kids could get, you know, volunteer service hours doing that. I mean, I think it could, if it's done right, we could do a really amazing job with it. I agree. I'm not suggesting we just plant pollinator gardens willy-nilly, you know, without any thought, and certainly, you know, without any idea of how, once it's planted, how are we going to sustain and maintain that. This whole idea of a pollinator pathway is you're being a steward of that pathway, just like we're being a steward of this greenway. So we should just, but I think the Conservation Commission could be really thoughtful about it and help the town, since they're gonna be wearing many hats, thinking about many different initiatives, that we could come to them with some ideas on how maybe we could get going on that. Macero Farm has a pollinator pathway, you know, is doing tremendous things there. And so that could be a place to start, and we could build upon things that they already have very easily. And then once maybe we learn what we're doing, you know, and get kind of some energy behind that, we could apply it to different properties throughout. We could do it at the cornfield too. There's pollinator pathway, you know, that's already been established, and there's some wonderful things happening there. So we're lucky that in town we have literally 2 amazing examples of that, not to mention what people are doing in their own yards for people to come and gather around and become educated about, and that's basically all I have to say about that.
Well, does that flesh out the difference between the two? It's not to get
somewhat.
6 or 7 projects
I
together.
understand that, and I appreciate that clarification. I think I'd be more feeling like we're in the role of maybe having a speaker and doing an education series on it simply, but I think our job is to acquire land and protect land and not necessarily get involved in the pollinator pathway. I mean, we can be a conduit for some information, but I guess I don't have my vision as someone who's gonna be involved in. I mean, I think specifically I'm interested in the Woodbridge Country Club land, because it's such a valuable piece, and I want people of the town to understand what a valuable piece it is, and that's why I think the pollinator pathway aspect of that is a good initiative. I guess I'm not thinking that we're going to be the spokespeople for pollinator pathway. Personally, I think, but if other people wanna do that,
Well,
that's.
and that's the discussion we wanna have, because I
Okay.
think
I'm not
when it
against,
came up.
I mean, I think it's a great idea, but creating a pollinator pathway means that, you
Yeah,
know,
I,
you either have plants or you don't have plants that are pollinating.
Val, did you have any
I'm just,
thoughts on this? You don't
yeah.
have to, but I just,
no, I'm just trying to figure out how this table is gonna look in January before we embark on any initiatives, because I thought that we would be kind of like wrapping things up that we've already been working on, and I don't know if it's the best thing to do is start something if some of us aren't going to be here. I'm not quite sure how this is going to develop, unravel. I'm not sure how, who we will be in January before we start.
it's a fair point.
Okay,
It's a very fair point, and it's always a conundrum.
right.
You don't wanna just stop, because, we may or may not be here, because we don't know the future.
Right.
However, it came up at the last meeting,
Right.
and the agreement at the last meeting was put it on today's agenda,
No,
so I did.
That wouldn't.
And if we now feel that we wanna postpone this topic and then focus our time on trying to finish the properties worthy of preservation, I'm okay with that. Because originally, as you know, I wanted to try to finish that by the end of December, but it became, as I said last meeting, it became apparent to me we weren't gonna be able to do it in any case, so it was gonna roll over. It was gonna continue the next time, so.
Yeah. I mean, for some of our initiatives, tree preservation, Audubon, we're already,
Yeah,
In it.
they're ongoing.
we're ongoing, we're already in it.
Yeah.
To,
And
no,
this-
I love the idea of the pollinator pathway.
To be fair, it came up some months ago.
Right, it did come up
And I-
months
and
ago,
I-
but no,
I put it a little to the side because we weren't too far started, but it bubbled up again, and I wanted to, because the commission seemed to wanna, start on it again, and I wanted to try to do that. But if we think at this juncture, we're best wait until the new year, we can do that. That pretty much the consensus. Sharon, if I, just because, this one point, hopefully, and just to take away for next year's discussion, the pollinator pathway, you talked about what our mission is as a conservation commission. And I guess the pollinator pathway seems to me be another mechanism by which we can, and you really said it, applied to the former country club. It's a way to show people the value of the open space and to teach how it helps, all the benefits it has. So,
Well, I like that
that's why
part. I think the education part is a good part.
Yeah,
think
and you're right.
Hands-on,
We have to
trying
talk
to
about.
manage
And
land to
that
be
was my statement,
pollinators.
what's our role, beyond, yes, we know we can do education on those topics. Some we've done before, the jumping words,
yeah, that was good.
but, there's a thought that we could go beyond that and help even educate the Board of Selectmen with a vision, and say, hey, here's what we think the town should do. Doesn't mean we have to, dig the pollinator pathways and plant the plants and, and take care of it. But maybe we can suggest ways that the whole town could do this. And maybe it becomes, and it's just something we recommend, and as much as we can recommend, but it's not something we stay involved in long term. But that's what we can talk about.
Is it something that we could approach like we are at the tree preservation and the Audubon, and maybe have one or two or like a subcommittee from this committee, and then they can do that, and then we can hear, they can report back, so we have that kind of,
Absolutely.
they could facilitate it that way, but not that all of us are doing it. So I would agree with that on some level, and not that we all are responsible or all in it, that we have a subcommittee or something, and they're reporting back, and they may be the liaison with another group.
Well,
I like
yeah,
that,
there's
Val.
a lot of different groups that would you know, and it's not unlike the trail system, right?
Right.
We have a trail commission, right? So even though you're coming up with a greenway, you know, plan, you also have other town
There's a-
entities and groups that are helping to work with that plan,
There's a
within that
more
plan.
tactical entity
Absolutely,
that.
and I do
that's-
believe the pollinator pathway needs to be thought of in a similar way, because it is literally the pathway for pollinators. And it's not, I mean, this is the whole country, you can go, you know, on the websites and, you know, just look at the Northeast and see how each town connecting and doing these initiatives, you know, whether they're in a small way or in a really big way, which Woodbridge is already doing, quite frankly, but we could even get better at it and be kind of a shining example of what you do for the pollinator pathway, is pretty tremendous. It gets us grants, it gets, you know, kids, and it's one of those things that in a time when things are pretty yucky, you know, in the world, like, there's no one, no matter what your political affiliation is, that doesn't agree that this is an amazing idea. And there's nothing more joyful than being out in nature and planting these pollinators and seeing the pollinators actually come and pollinate them. I mean, so it's good for mental health. I mean, I could go on and on. There's just like, this is why I'm so passionate about it. So I don't think that it's, you know, just like a hobby. You know, I think it's the towns that are, and there are towns in Connecticut that are doing this as a major initiative, are doing tremendous things, and I think that Woodbridge should be, you know, a part of that, and that Conservation Commission is a no, you know, is probably the group to kind of help get that going.
Okay. Okay, so we'll bring it back up
In January,
if we're here.
or, yeah. Stay tuned.
Yeah. It
Valerie will be here.
It will be passed on.
It's
That's
your
right.
job, Val.
Yeah.
I'll be calling
Yeah.
you.
So, Val, I'll give you my notes. Okay, good, thank you. Good that was the type of discussion I hoped we would have on this, and you know, it's not gonna happen all in one night, and we will talk on it again, and hopefully those who aren't here will watch the video. Good, so we'll turn to our work session. We're gonna talk a little bit about town properties.
What do we hope to get through tonight?
I'm gonna let you tell me, because the list that we're gonna go look at tonight is the list that CUPOP has put together of all the town-owned properties. It's divided into 4 sections. And
So why, are those at risk to not be open space?
I think at the beginning, we had talked about listing in our properties worthy of preservation list, all properties that are worthy of preservation. So.
Even
there
ones
are-
that are already preserved?
Well, those will be easy, right? So, and when you see the categories, the first category is something like, probably not worth talking about individually. The whole categories, in my mind, seems to be, you know, we can say yes and we're done with it. There are other categories that'll require a different level of
How did
discussion.
we get this list from CUPOP? Did we request it, or did they offer it, or?
Well, we, as Conservation Commission, we have an ex officio representative to CUPOP,
You?
so.
So you asked them if they would do this?
No. Their charter is to maintain this list, and one of the things that they started to do, I'm gonna say a year ago, was to update the list, to get it in good shape. It hasn't been formally updated since 2015, I wanna say.
I think it's longer than that even.
It may be longer than that. So they, it was a big book, essentially. had a lot of the property records in the book. So they were going through the process, and we participated. We were able to give them some information. As
We
a-
being you two.
we as the commission, because of the research we did for the Greenway, we were able to give comment through me on what we had found about different properties. So they incorporated some of that in, and so they're aware of what we've done. So now they're having finished that, we've taken the list back, and we'll
That's interesting,
divvy it up on
but
our
Tim,
list.
what I don't understand, so let's say we come up with 12 properties and 4 of them we decide aren't worth our focus to save. Does that have any repercussions on what Coupop is willing to do with them, or the town? I mean, does it mean they're in jeopardy of not being protected, or what, is it just sort of us saying, yes, we also, in addition to us owning it, we think it's valuable?
Well, the town, how do I want to say this? I don't know if every property well, let me say it this way. Some properties the town owns are protected open space. Some properties the town owns are generally recognized as open space, but they're not protected.
Right.
Some properties the town owns are not generally recognized as open space. Could be just a little sliver of something that is small and wouldn't be considered open space for most people. Generally don't recognize it that way, and that's a piece. What we've been doing, putting together our list, is saying these are the valuable pieces of properties that should be preserved because they contribute in ways that open space contribute. We take our viewpoint of what should be open space. So we've been applying that lens to properties that were formerly in our open space plan, to the PA 490 properties, to other categories of properties, and now we're just applying it to the town
Okay.
properties. Is that?
Yeah, I just would be a little reluctant to implicate that if it's not on our very valued list, that it means we really don't think they should be kept. Because I think any open
Well,
space that the town happens to own
we-
is valuable.
Well, in the construction of our properties worthy of preservation list, we're not making a comment. We wouldn't, in my mind, be making a comment about whether the town should keep the property or not. We don't
Uh-huh.
we don't have that authority, and we're not trying to exercise that authority. We are trying to say a priori that the ones on our list
Are
are
important.
ones we think
Okay,
should be kept,
all right.
and they're valuable. The other ones, at the time somebody has an idea or they want to do something else with it, it doesn't prevent us from chiming in at that point, or to say it maybe should be kept for other reasons.
Okay, that's just what I'm
You know,
trying to
that-
determine.
I don't know if, we're sitting here, this piece of property,
Right,
it's not so much a piece of open space, is it?
right.
But the town owns it. It may not make it onto our list worthy of preservation. Well, it may, but it's not pure open space. But it
Got
may
it.
be worth preserving for other reasons. And I
Okay.
wouldn't suggest the
So
town
we-
sell it. Okay.
So are we just considering it just in the aspect of open space? Is that our only
Well,
value that
it-
we're
it-
looking at in this?
It's the same criteria we've used for all the other ones, and I have some copies of that. If you don't have it with you, I will.
Thank you.
Those are the criteria. I have a couple copies of. I only have two copies of this full list. You can go to the top page. This is small probably. Those are the
Properties?
properties. The properties are here.
So should we take that and give this to,
Here, no, I have another one. I'll
Okay.
give it a quick step.
okay.
Trying to see why there's so many. Maybe it's just longer. That's on 3 pages, on the back.
Okay.
So, but this is what I only have one copy of. This
Oh,
is
okay.
on top. Here, Joy, do you have it with you? No.
I don't have my list.
Okay.
I think this is the same thing, right? Can we, go to like 9:15, this?
Just gonna hit the lights. All right, I know Sharon and Val, you need to switch seats to see that or not.
Well, it's the same as it's on here, right?
It's the
Yeah,
same,
this is good.
should be the same
Okay.
list.
That
That's what
sounds
I had distributed to you
Okay, thank you.
previously, and what I just gave you. So, you know, the place to start are the categories. The CUPOP's divided their list, they're by charter, they're
Here's the category.
meant to divide their
Yeah, there's
list
the
into
category.
4 different categories. So we'll take them one at a time. Let's look through the categories first. Category 1 is, just to make sure you understand the categories. Category 1 is town property dedicated to open space or other use under terms of grants and aid conditions. And grants and aids are monies that are given by either the federal, but most of the time by the state government to acquire open space. So when those grants are given, they're given to acquire property as open space, so there's a pretty hard restriction on it. Those tend to be valuable as pieces of property, and we'll see that when we look at the list. Any questions on that category?
So we don't even have to go through that category.
That's the one I was saying, I don't think
Right.
it'll take us much time to get through those.
I think we're done.
Yep, done with that.
Category 2 are town properties, the uses of which are now under the direction of existing commissions or other agencies of the town. So think of some of the recreation, the parks.
Yeah, they're all written, I don't think that's,
Library.
we
We
need
don't
to
have
think
to go
about
through
those
that
either.
list either, Tim.
Not, maybe a little less quickly than number 1, but,
The town green and gazebo.
yeah.
I mean, obviously, we would recommend that
Yeah.
these things
Okay.
stay.
So, all right, category number 3 are, it's easier,
Well, maybe we should
easier if you
clarify-
skip to.
Maybe we should clarify, we agree that these are all protected places and we don't recommend any of them to be.
We'll look at the list. I'm looking at the categories right now, just to make sure you understand the categories, and then we'll look
You're
at the
not
list.
gonna develop the cemetery.
Right.
Okay, get out of the weeds for a second.
Okay.
Just, let's talk about the categories.
Okay.
Go to the first
Okay.
page. I wanna make sure you understand the categories.
We got the first two.
The category 4, let's jump there. Those, because we may do this tonight, just to get through it. Category 4, on the definition, is what I'm going through. It's in land and buildings to which the town has the option to purchase and/or the right of first refusal. So these are on the CUPOP list, but the town doesn't own them. Okay.
These are interesting.
They represent mostly water company or electric utility properties.
So they're all open space, there's no
The-
structures on any of these at this moment?
Well, if you.
Or no major
structures, high
structures.
wires, yes.
Yeah, no, but there's no,
Yeah.
it-
There,
is
there's
it-
no housing.
there's no
There's no
businesses
municipal
or
buildings,
houses.
no commercial buildings,
I'm gonna show this
tip-
to Mika so he can know what we're talking about.
typically.
Mika, would you like to see what we're talking about? That might be helpful for you. Okay, you're good.
Yeah.
Okay, so
But if
that's,
it's water
And-
company property, how could we?
they sometimes sell their property.
Oh, okay.
It's the right of first refusal. For the water company and the electric utility, I believe, when they go to sell their property, the municipality has a right of first refusal of state law. So these are properties that are listed on Coopsop's list because we might acquire them in the future if they came up for sale.
So, I mean, there's like 1,000 acres just on Litchfield Turnpike.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. All right, so,
If and when they ever did come, say, you know, they decommissioned a certain area, whatever, then we would have the right of first refusal to get that land.
yes, and this is what happened with the theater lot that we just talked about.
Okay.
It was owned by the state in that case, but we had the, so, again, still trying to finish my description of the categories. The last category, category 3, are all other town-owned properties essentially. That's the chunk of the list that's gonna take a little time to go through.
But we own these properties.
You own those properties. The town owns categories 1, 2, and 3, does not own 4, but has the right to purchase them.
So 3 is really the list
They're gonna
we have
be
to go
the big
through.
one. So,
Mhm.
so let's look at the list in person and we'll go, we'll start back at 1.
You don't have a map of these places, do you?
No, but I'll bring up the, what we've done in the past, and I'll bring up the GIS system and
Okay.
we'll look at that. So, on the screen, category 1, and what I've done, because I wanted to try to expedite a little bit my note-taking here. I've already and I'm gonna ask you to look at the screen, because these 2 columns are not on your sheet. But to try to expedite things, my sense was these were all gonna be yeses. And I've also put in what I thought was the primary reason, key reason for preservation, as we've been doing on the other properties. And if we wanna bounce over to the GIS system, I can do that.
And it can only be 1, Tim?
Yeah, well,
Because obviously it would build a
Yep.
bigger case, like if you looked at Macero, for instance, right? And you said, well, it preserves this, it does this, it does this, it does this, and there are like 10 things that it does, that would be really compelling,
What-
no matter who takes this over, to, continue to keep that.
And that's probably a fair statement for many of the properties that are worthy of preservation. I thought would have taken us a long time to go through and pick all the reasons for each property, and probably wasn't necessary to construct our list. If those properties ever become the subject of a discussion, Coopop's looking to use it for a different reason, other commissions are looking at it, the town starts to look at it, asks us to look at it, then I think we go and do the deep dive on the property, do the property assessment, which is something we did back in Jason's time, and how to look at a property and score it and see the value of it. But this was just so we'd at least have something to hold on to of why we put it on the list. What's the biggest reason of all of them, if we can pick one. So it's not perfect, but it was a.
Is there any way you could, if you're only gonna give them one reason, but it's a reason, so it's in the reason to save list kind of thing,
Yeah.
is there a way to maybe then code it a 1, 2, or, like a high level save versus a, cause if there are a bunch of enhances existing open
Well-
space, how do you know by looking, cause it's a pretty big list, right? That one is more valuable than the other in terms of enhancing existing open
Well,
space?
in my mind, if it's on this list, it's a 1. It's property worthy of preservation. It made the list.
Okay.
That's our view, our conclusion as a commission. We did, on the way through, as we went through the PA 490s, we started to talk about properties that are worthy of, I've lost the term, properties that are worthy of monitoring or watching, some term that said, hey, these are maybe not worthy of the preservation label, but they're worthy of keeping an eye on. I mean, if somebody decided to sell this property, we want to be aware because it could become of interest. But we weren't going to try to rank order these in orders of importance. And in terms of giving someone the list, I mean, the town does ask us to put together this list, and just have it and provide it to the Board of Selectmen so the town knows which properties we consider this way. The key reason has not been part of that list before, and I'm not sure it will be as we give it to them. It's just going to be the property, and if you get to the discussion, then we do the deep dive. And I did this for our internal purposes, having the key reason, just so we would know, what was most important when we had the discussion.
I'm
Should we
just
get to
thinking
doing
that
them?
it's just a lot of work, you know what I mean? And so if you're gonna do the work, and because we are on and off these commissions and, that it would be good that they wouldn't have to keep redoing the work, you know what I mean? That once the work is done, that could be passed on for the next 10, 15, 20 years, because it's still gonna be true. Whatever we just, this isn't an opinion necessarily. If we're using certain criteria, this is always gonna be true about, from a conservation perspective. Do you know what I'm saying? Versus, each, every time you have a changeover in commissioners, that they're changing their mind on that list. Hopefully that's not what's happening, because that's kind of an incredible waste of time.
The list has been created before. We are revisiting the list. The list is part of the open space plan.
Right.
The list in the open space plan was sparse, and felt like it was a full view of all the properties that are worthy of preservation. This is meant to be a more comprehensive list. Will that list change over time? Well, it has to. Properties get sold. They're no longer, available. They're no longer, you can't preserve them because it was a piece of private property, somebody built housing on it, and now it's not going to be on the list. So it will change for that reason, but not so much. Will a property that's on the list have the same reason for preservation in 10 years that it has now? Mostly, but some things could change. The contingent open space could have gone away, for instance. But so it is. I imagine it will be revisited, and the views of that commission in 10 years may be a little different than ours. So I don't think you can help that. I passing along the list is important. Are you suggesting that, again, back to let's get all the reasons why it's worthy?
Well, I think
It-
if we can give that, knowing that, yes, from time to time, things change, you have, every 10 years, you have to look at this, or every 20 years, however,
Whatever.
town planning is an evolving thing, right? Because the
Yeah.
needs are evolving. But if we gave them a very, if we're gonna go through the work like we have, and I know Nicole has with Coopop, that to give them a very thorough picture that is, that then maybe they can, they have that for 10 years. So until something has really shifted in the needs, or, something, like to your point, yes, if property is
Yeah.
sold or something happens, but that picture, if it's thorough and done properly, I think can be really compelling. It's almost like a time capsule thing. And, you have it, and whether you revisit it 5 years from now, or 10, or 100. And I think that could be really a significant contribution, to what we're supposed to be. I mean, that was just my assumption, that that's what we were doing, but,
That we were building
we're building
really
that list
extensive descriptions of,
so that they knew, that there's something, there was, this is why, so they don't have to guess and wonder,
Well-
what is this list, and did they
But-
just,
I think, I view this list as an invitation for a discussion. That if a property comes up for discussion, that the boards and commissions that would be bringing that up would have access to this list, and by virtue of a property being on this list, they would say, that would be an invitation to have a discussion with the Conservation Commission about what's valuable about the property. Why is it valuable open space?
right, but if it's 10 years from now, you're not here, I'm not here, Sharon's not
But-
here,
but-
Paul's not here.
But there's a continuity in the commission.
Okay.
There's a continuity in that the commissions morph one into the other as people come and go. But the interest in the preservation of the open space does stay. And so would they have to do some research? Yes, but a bunch of the research would be done because of what we've done, because of what we've recorded, what Coopop, Nicole and Coopop have recorded about where the deeds are and where the restrictions are for some of the properties, and they've done a very nice job of that, where they, we'll look in a minute at the Excel, and it says whether there's restrictions or easements on the property.
So,
And-
I'd like to interrupt this, because I think it's now going into just explaining stuff, and I've gotta go in a half hour, and I don't think we're gonna get to very much of this unless we,
Yeah.
so do you guys feel like you've figured this out enough, or that we could maybe take it to another time?
Yeah, I was just, like I said, I was just suggesting, since we're gonna go through
I
the
understand.
threes,
I understand.
that we would have,
I think
Yeah.
that there's a whole
Yeah.
other criteria that we worked out previously that does that maybe Tim could share with us at another meeting, where once it's really being considered, there's a lot to look at. But
Yeah.
I think if we do that with each property, it gets
It-
kind of irrelevant. So, but I'm worried about my
Yeah,
timing.
and that's the, I think, because we put that together and knew that was there, maybe we think in that way, that this is just to get the single list. The deep dive is contained in this other evaluation tool that we put together, and it can be done after we put together the list for certain properties, but the thought was that's a lot of work to do without a lot of benefit. It's better to, and build in the expectation that these are really worth preserving, and if you're gonna try to do something, you gotta get involved. And that's why I think the Board of Selectmen asks us for the list, so they know what ones are important. Okay. So, let's see if I can get my machine back running. So, category number 1, we're up on the screen. As I mentioned, I did try to load this. The grants and aid means these are protected as open space. So are we all good that
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
should go on the list? Okay.
Sure.
All right. See that? We've done 10 of them in Snap.
The next 15, yes.
So I'm going to go to category number 2.
Yes.
Okay, again, I pre-filled this all with yes, but would want you to, look through the list, see if there's any that aren't worth preserving.
So, this one's trickier,
Yep. Yes, it is.
because I'm just gonna throw out an example, and I am playing devil's advocate a little bit, but, Beecher Road School. Schools, age and, let's just throw out as an example of if we were to regionalize, if for some reason we decided we couldn't add on to Beecher anymore, we needed to build a brand new school. I would imagine we would maybe try to do something with that property for the town, but, I don't know what. But I'm just saying that I don't know that we're gonna just preserve it as a sprawling, aging infrastructure and crumbling
That would
property
obviously
lot.
be revisited if it changed its entire purpose.
Right.
And it is a
Yeah.
fair amount of open space that, as open space, is still available, but viable, that we don't, as a conservation commission, we like to protect open space, there's lots of land around Beecher School, so it doesn't preclude it saying the part that isn't developed, we could save as open space and you can convert the school into a
Whatever.
healthcare facility, but we could still, so we still wanna discuss it, so it's relevant that I think we keep it on the list.
Okay.
I think that all of it should stay on the list.
This is a silly technicality, but why is there 0 land associated with the firehouse and the library? But I don't need you to answer it, just want to clarify
Yeah,
that when
which-
they're
which-
doing it.
Help me out with, is there a number
Number
there?
16,
4
17,
and 10.
and 22.
I heard 2 people talking.
So-
No, it's not, it's
she said
15
old-
and 16.
The library, the fire station.
Okay,
So the addresses were 4 and 10
yeah.
Newtown Road.
There is that parcel of land, is in the property records, it's a little different than most pieces. It's a I can't remember the exact term, multi-account record. So I think the acreage is
Absorbed in another
probably-
aspect of it, I
probably
imagine.
with the town hall.
Okay, that's
um,
fine.
And
Mm-hmm.
the town hall is 0 too, isn't it?
Yeah, I just might want some clarification
I think-
of what that really is.
I think that's a result of each of them individually are listed with 0, and there's either one of them or the whole thing is listed.
8.
Right.
with the-
Yeah.
Okay,
with-
so
now,
just in clarification, it might be good to put a note about that, but I don't think we need to be doing that.
Yeah, that's
It's
a
25.
coupon, it's a coupon list. and
Okay.
They know about it, they did it on purpose.
Okay,
So, all right, I'm gonna switch now to category number 4.
why not 3?
Well, because 3 is gonna take us a long time to go through, and I think 4 is something we could finish tonight. So, I'll ask you, again, look at the screen for a second. In my category 4, I did again, go through and give you my opinion on these. And, and we're here to, discuss the ones I put, for instance, on line 124, number 118 there. I put my initials with no. I'm not so sure that it's 0.8 of an acre, is that worthy of preservation?
Is it someplace different, or is it contiguous with all the others?
It's like, my memory, I can bring it up. It was a little slice between two roads, if I have the right one. I can bring it up, and I'll do that, but just, that's what I did. And then down the bottom, there's one that says TAS, where I wasn't quite sure, wanted to get your thoughts on it. So we can go through some of these. The rest are yeses. All right, so should we go through the no's and see if you,
Well, yeah, I think that those water company property is definitely a yes in my mind.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
state property, that's a fair amount of land.
those, yeah, some of those are surrounding Knoll's Pond
Yeah, so they're definitely things that would be worth
and
saving.
state land ones.
Yeah, I think for me, going through the ones you said no to would be pertinent.
Yep. Okay, really fine. So I'll make, well, I'll start with 1955 Litchfield. That's not it, let's see. I'm trying to make this bigger. Oops, well, this is not the little slice of land. Why would I say no? Did I get the wrong, I might have gotten the wrong number. 1970, I'm sorry, I put 1975. Let me shrink that a little bit so we can see where it is. So, this is Sperry Road, this is Dillon Road, so this is there's a reservoir, I don't know, or a dam, I guess, here, and this is this little piece of land right there. I don't know.
Is
It's like
that,
a house and,
is that the house that the Historical Society is thinking of buying?
I'm not aware of their plans.
Yeah, I think where's Darling House in relationship to this?
Darling House is a little further down here.
All right,
There's
There.
Clark,
okay.
and I'll blow this up a little bit more. I think, this
That's the
might
Darling House.
That
That's
might be
parking
Darling
lot.
House. This is the Boy Scout camp back here. The Greenway, comes up and goes up in here.
Yep. And that's Shepherd's Farm right there. No, that's not Shepherd's Farm. That's the house that they're thinking of buying. So is it near Shepherd's Farm?
Is this Shepherd's Farm?
Probably. I would wonder if do you have a wetlands map? Because that might be a wetlands too.
Well, I can put that layer on here.
Yeah, so I think it's worth preserving.
Ah, okay.
That would be right where a vernal pool might be.
Yeah. Okay. Did not apparently do that. Okay, 150 Pond Lily, which is 10 acres. It's the state garage. So on Pond Lily Avenue, when you get on the Wilbur Cross to get in through, go through the tunnel, that's Pond Lily. If you go
Yeah.
past that,
That's Woodbridge still?
yeah, there's some Woodbridge land on the other side. of
Yeah,
the
that's that whole,
Wilbur Cross.
right before West Rock.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, so that's where the state garage is. And
Mhm.
offices, parking lot,
Right, it's pretty
storage
disturbed.
facility. It's, you know,
Is it all
it's all
disturbed?
built up.
Could we look at it?
Sure.
Mm.
Yeah. 150 Pond Lily. Back. Mistyped. And you see it here. There's the Wilbur Cross and
Is that where they might put the third tunnel right there anyway?
well, yeah, I don't know the exact plan. I don't know if the third tunnel is going on the left or the right.
I think it,
I don't think you can
Well,
go-
actually, I think somebody told me it's supposed to be on the right.
yeah, that's what I heard.
It can't go on the left, I don't think.
Yeah, so I do think somebody told me that. So this land, well, you know, you can see by the size of the tunnels, they would have room here, I guess.
No, I think they're gonna use part of that land, I got the impression, is my
Oh,
sense, but
yeah, I have no knowledge of that, if they've approached the
But-
town on that or not.
it does seem like that, the garage is definitely there, but it doesn't take up a large, it only takes up about a fifth of that land, right?
Is that the ball fields? No. What is?
And don't forget, on this list, this is properties we have a right of first refusal, if
Right.
the land was ever, you know,
But
so-
can we put the wetland, do you think there's any wetlands on there? I doubt it, but,
Yeah, I doubt it too, but wetlands is already on, Sharon, so no.
oh, it is?
Yeah, you can see it here in the corner.
I just
on
think
the
there'd be a
left
lot of
side.
runoff right
Yeah.
there from the west.
No.
I mean, to me, that would be a piece that might be worth us driving by and seeing how much of it's woodlands and how much of it's,
Well,
developed.
I having gone up there on Pond Lily, that is in New Haven, there are houses.
That's state-owned land too right now?
This is state owned. This is state land. There are houses all up here.
No, but, and what is,
I walked out of.
Well, that's
I-
Pond
I
Lily,
walk-
right?
See, Sharon, what you're not seeing, I believe, well, I'm gonna take that, no, I'm not gonna make that
so
statement.
is it all woodlands though,
No,
aside
No.
from that?
No, it's all
it's
built
not.
up.
That's all, so I only see buildings on a small part of it, you're saying most of that's built up.
let me see,
Right.
let me do this.
There's
That's
some-
Valley Street.
I mean,
So-
it's the mountain,
So
it
this
goes
is
into
the
the
ridge.
mountain, or whatever.
This goes up,
Uh-huh,
up the hill. So you're seeing, see this is the street, this is Pond Lily, actually.
oh, so half of this is in Woodbridge and half of it's in.
Yes,
I see, so
Yeah.
it's,
and
Wood-
this part you're not seeing, this is the ridge,
yeah,
okay?
okay, well, I think the ridge is worth protecting, but the rest is definitely not
Yeah.
protected.
Well, and that's why, if it ever got sold by the state, yeah. So,
I bet it's gonna get.
Well, they own it already, so.
Can you
that
show
it's
us
easy for
with
them
the
to-
marker again, where we're looking?
the,
So
yeah.
this is, are you wanting to, this is the piece of land?
Right, this, is that, right there?
This
Contiguous.
Oh,
this is,
It just happens that part of it is.
this is in New Haven, so it
Woodbridge.
doesn't show on the Woodbridge GIS map, until you get the photo view.
so the white right there is, that's Woodbridge, right here?
The red.
No, the Woodbridge line is right up here. You
Oh.
can't see it, you can't see it on this map. If I flip it
When
back,
you guys turn on to Pond Lily, literally one side of the street is Woodbridge and one side is
see,
New Haven.
so Val, this yellow line here,
Yeah, yeah,
that's the Woodbridge line, the New Haven line.
But the Pond Lily Road is actually here.
Pond Lily Road is in New
This is
Haven.
all state, this is all impervious surface.
okay.
I think, you know, the only part that, I think if there's another tunnel built, that will be blasted, but, you know, it is not bad habitat.
No, there's. All right, conclusion?
I'm gonna say no.
I'm gonna say mostly no, but the upland land is, you know, pretty pristine at this point, but will likely be affected by a new tunnel.
Yeah, that new tunnel is,
So,
so we'll leave it now? Val, you have any?
If there's a new tunnel coming, I would agree to no.
Okay. 1116 Racebrook Road is .02. It's the corner of a residential lot.
That's really small.
It is really small.
perfect for a garden.
1116 Racebrook. Let me go back to the base map. A lot of,
Is that all wetlands?
see this?
It's all wetlands.
Yeah, that's easy.
Okay. Why we own that? It's probably a visibility thing. I would think.
Where is it?
Well, I don't
Racebrook
know. It's on
Road.
a.
But that's not what we own, that's what the state owns, you said, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, excuse me. Excuse me, it's the state owns that.
Well, I think since it's just totally wetlands, it's worth I mean, wetlands are mandated to preserve or.
Right.
There's no wetlands one here. Okay.
You wanna move that down, the wetlands one. You
Did I do the wrong one?
you did the wrong one.
No, I didn't. This is, oh. I'm sorry. This is, no, I went to the wrong. State. Thank you, Sharon. I'm gonna scroll this so I don't. Okay, on an angle. And then, 15 South Bradley is state-owned, it borders the park.
It's 283 acres? That's exciting.
2.08,
Oh, 2.0.
yeah, so 15 South Bradley. I think the issue with this one is just, it lies on the ridge. I'm sorry, what did they say is the address on this, 15?
15 South Bradley.
What's the number?
15.
15. So, this, maybe, put the elevation map here. Lines, this sometimes takes a minute to refresh.
Can you go out so we
Yeah,
can get
you-
perspective?
So, here's the tunnel. This is the industrial park, of course, part of the industrial park. Here's the ball field that's over there. There are the elevation lines.
Why wouldn't we wanna preserve that?
It's kind of self-preserving.
Well, I don't
It
think,
should be part of the
It's-
park.
It's part of the
yeah.
ridge, like you said,
I
right?
think we wouldn't want somebody to decide it's a perfect place for a cell tower.
Yeah, it's state, we have the right of first refusal and that type of thing, but,
I think it's pristine land.
yeah. Yeah, but it is part of the ridge, so it probably should be. I'm not sure what I was thinking at that point, but with that perspective.
Preserve farm soils, no.
There's a,
Well, it could be an archaeology site.
well, there are a lot of
I'm not,
arrowheads found down
there
in that
really
area.
is, exactly.
Yeah. I'm not sure. All right,
Clark Road?
yeah, I
CLMP?
guess I didn't make a, well, let me. Did we not? That was just 15 Bradley we looked again, right?
Yep.
There's two of
I had that as a yes, but I just wanted to verify it, Sharon.
Cool.
Okay, so, my mistake. And then,
Hazel Terrace.
this 70 Ansonia Road,
Okay.
let me look at that. 70 Ansonia. Okay, why did that not? Didn't show up here. I can't tell which one it is. This one, I guess. Yeah, UI. It says that's a substation. It says it's a substation.
So where is that?
Well, let me get this elevation off. And here's Beecher coming in,
Oh,
and then there's a box there, big, a fairly good sized box, a yellowish box. It's a substation. It's labeled on.
is wetlands on there?
Yes, there should be. Now that you say that, because I remember them working in the wetlands as they were working on that box. Yes.
Yeah, so I think
Yeah.
that's preserved.
So that's a. That is a.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're just verifying with everybody on that one. So that's it. Yeah. The 45 Clark Road. Look at that. Just a couple more, and then if we do that for tonight, I think it would be good.
It's mostly wetlands too.
So this is, let me take this down. These are the high tension wires between the green lines. So this is where the power run is. Here's here's Cedar Road, Amity Road, so it's that triangle. I think Maria Kane lives over near her, if I understand rightly.
No, she lives down
Isn't she?
below,
Hello?
down at the base of, go all the way down Clark Road.
Oh, okay, oh, down here?
Yeah, she lives down
Okay.
there.
Yeah, I talked to her one day about this property.
Well, it does look pretty wetlandy.
Yeah, a good amount of it is, isn't it?
I don't think it's very buildable.
No. Yeah, they would be
And that might be exactly where a
challenging.
vernal pool would
It'd
be.
be challenging, but it would, yeah, but maybe could be done. But this is a wetlands there, huh? So, sense of that one, cause I didn't classify that.
My opinion is it's not very desirable with lots of high tension wires, but it is protected wetlands, and that might be that would be a kind of place which is upland, but it gets water. It could even be a vernal pool type of possibility.
Well,
in it. That is-
any, yeah,
Well, any, but not more, that kind of place, but
yeah, but does it meet our criteria? I mean, we had said on our criteria that things need to be of significance.
I don't think you can build on it anyway, but,
Yeah, Yeah.
not with our current zoning anyway. But,
no,
but it would already, if it's wetlands, then
Mhm.
you're
it's worth protecting.
conservation soils and wetlands, right?
yeah. I think I'm hearing yes. And we have a lot of that in the town.
Hazel
And
Terrace.
especially with power lines, I mean, they would have to go be put someplace else. I mean, you can't build anything
Right.
there anyway.
Okay, two more. 4. Hazel Terrace. This one. So, this is number 4 here. This is actually a big substation. Or no, I'm sorry, this is not it. I'll take that back.
I'm not
Maybe
sure
it is.
Hazel
Actually,
Terrace is.
I think it is. This is the Stop and Shop
Oh.
Plaza.
Oh.
Okay, and June Street is
Mm.
here. This sort of, it sort of dead ends, but it goes up into New Haven a little bit, this June Street does. Stop and Shop's more over here, this is the Stop and Shop Plaza, I should have said.
Where's the thruway in Elizabeth?
The Parkway,
The Parkway.
Parkway is up here,
I
so
see.
the park, because you pass, when you're on Amity Road, you pass Stop and Shop and then you go underneath,
Got it.
right?
Uh-huh.
So this is the UI's, and let me see if it's in the picture or not. And I'm gonna load that up. So this is a big substation. Right here, a lot of electrical appliances, and then the lines run up the hill, right through it. So not, and very steep.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Base map, so,
Well, it seems like it would likely be preserved just because of its steepness. And it is disturbed, but
yeah, it's very disturbed. And, mountain bikers have been trying to find a way to get up there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they've not been successful. Well, because there's a small business, Danello's Bike Shop, and they have a sort of
Right.
sponsor a bike group, and they ride in town, and
Okay.
they like to ride to the shop. And they can't find a way to get down there
Amity
without
Bowling
riding
is
on the
over there,
roads.
too.
Yeah,
Amity Bowling is over here.
yeah, that would be the bowling alley on the end here. I don't know why it's separated.
No, that's not the bowling alley, that's the Planet Fitness. Right
Oh,
there.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Bowling alley would be further up, be right there. Yeah, here, this, bowling alley, where 100 is.
Okay,
So-
what do we think about that one?
I'm not as attached to that one.
Hmm?
I'm not as attached to preserving that one, no,
Yeah.
mostly
Okay.
because it won't be.
that would- Joy, Val, we seem reasonable, that's a no?
I have no reason to
Yeah,
think that we should keep that.
okay. 72 Rimmon. Switch.
I mean, I don't think they can develop it anyway.
Yeah.
I'm confused about how we,
It's something I struggle with all the time, Joy, because I think if something can't be developed, then
That's
What
a
are we
lot.
talking about?
what's the point? But
Right.
on the other hand, you know, if the
especially
property
with-
has inherent value, then it probably, probably
Well,
makes it
that's
a
all
list.
wetlands, and the thing about wetlands different than a cliff is you can fill in wetlands, but you
Yeah.
can't fill in a cliff,
Right.
so
Well,
I think it requires us to be more attentive to it,
Yeah.
because it's more likely to be,
yeah.
if we gave the go-ahead, certainly lots of wetlands have been filled in over the decades.
So this is smacking into a wetlands.
But to your point, if they can fill that in, dam some, like, then that's a different story, but they're not gonna carve into the cliff, or maybe they would, I don't know, but.
So, must be Renee Jacob over here.
Who has that land?
What road is that on?
This is on Rimmon Road, between Beecher and Johnson. This is Congregation Renee Jacob across the street,
Oh, right,
and it's just a UI,
yeah,
1.1 acres.
it's right there.
Yeah, I'm not, I don't know that there's anything on here or not.
I don't think there is.
Let's see if there's any picture. Wires,
Yeah,
wires go through there,
yeah.
so they own it for the wires. But it is wetlands. So
I think it's worth just
we'll
not,
be consistent. I mean, something to be said for consistency. And, alright. So let me hit the save button.
we want to put yes on that one.
Did I not put yes on it? I did not do anything to it, apparently. Thought I just picked this. Okay. So, next time out,
So we basically said yes to everything.
well, not
A lot
every-
of it's wetlands.
not everything, but a lot of it. Alright, so
You say that, Joy, as if it's a
No,
not a
I'm
good
just
thing.
confused because it says, to which the town has the option to purchase and a right of first refusal. So we're coding it as like just informational wise, it's wetlands. So, just so that whoever's going to inherit this list, that they know that. Not necessarily that we were saying, yes, we would want,
Well, it would certainly
right
sell for a very
to-
small amount because it wouldn't be very buildable, and the
Right.
town could purchase it for a very unsubstantial amount, and why not, to preserve it if it's wetlands? So I am saying, yes, it's worth preserving. Personally. I mean, the land is really the only resource Woodbridge has makes it a lovely place to be, so I think if it's a habitat and wetlands and unbuildable, would be a very inexpensive thing for the town to probably would get a very good deal for it. Are you saying that you think that would be good for some landowner, per
no,
family
I
to
mean,
buy?
to me, it's hard for me to wrap my head around it, cause to me, it's not buildable if it's wetlands, and it has a power line running through it anyway.
But from being, it wouldn't have a power, no one would buy it with a power line. It would be if for some reason the power line wasn't still on it, I would think. But certainly, people have come before the Wetlands Commission and said, if we can just fill in this and create a passageway and do this and do that, and if we've given the green light because we said it wasn't worth our keeping, they could use that and say, well, you know, your town doesn't want it, so why don't you let us do that? I mean, that's how I'm thinking about it.
Mhm.
I think it's kind of cool that the power company is taking a lot of the wetlands, not that it's great, but it does preserve the wetlands by default.
The
Well,
bulk,
I'm
the bulk
wondering
of
if
them,
the-
because their footprint is fairly
Yeah.
small
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
the land. And they have stuff up in the air, yeah.
I'm just curious if they planned it like that, you know,
Yeah,
cause
don't-
that seems
know.
like too,
It's hard to go
too
through
hard,
Woodbridge
you
and
know.
not hit wetlands, right?
that's true, or
Can I-
ledge,
Yeah.
or ledge, right?
Or ledge, yeah.
So should we adjourn?
We're just about ready to adjourn. I just, I don't know if you can count real quick, but, this is what, category, oops, I went to the wrong category. Category number 3, right, we have to do next time?
3, that's gonna be the tough one.
Yeah, so 3 is.
And is that all we're planning to do in our last meeting, Tim?
Yeah, this is what we would attack next time, and, I don't know. It looks like it's from 27. Yeah, there's a good number of them, aren't there? So if you want, the best thing to do, and I can send this out again, I've done the same thing, I've kind of putting my thoughts. I can send this list and you can look and form some opinions ahead of time if you want to go through. The other option, of course, is to do what we did, same as we did on the PA 490, just and split it up. Say, Joy, why don't you look at 10 of these and share them 10?
I think this is
And we go through together.
the wrong month to do that.
Yeah, everybody's busy.
Yeah.
So we'll come back and we'll go through this together, and we'll, might take us a couple
Can you
sessions to get through it.
send us what you already, did?
yeah.
Yeah, that might be
Yeah.
helpful.
I will.
And also, Tim, are there some restrictions on some of these
Well,
properties
there are,
where
a
they are?
good point. I will, if you look on this column, column Q on my screen, you'll see that it's noted if the land trust or someone else has a restriction on the property. Now, some of the restrictions are purely, you can only build a single family. And COOPOP has done some work ahead of time and said, oh, this has wetland soils on it, some of these properties. Some of the properties say they're the greenway. So we know right away that there's no, that's why I went to, yes, on a lot of them, because I saw that.
Oh,
So the restricted use ones, especially with the Woodbridge Land Trust, those are easy, we don't have to.
Those are easy, yeah. That's right.
Okay,
Yeah.
there's quite a few of those.
Yeah.
yeah, but we
Right.
can,
Right, and
Tim,
quite a
do
few
you-
greenway ones, and then I've noted, again, I've put it on and it says wetland soils, we can look real quick. A lot of them will be quick, and others we'll have a debate about.
Do you want this list back so you can redistribute it to us next week, next month?
Yeah, that would be great.
And I have one more item. do we wanna have a holiday potluck? For a half hour before the meeting, or no?
That'd be
It was en-
nice.
It was enjoyable last year.
Yes.
Why don't you tell Joy what we did last year? Since
We just had a little gathering
you were the
before the
thought
meeting.
leader on this.
Okay.
Yeah, we can, maybe you can send out something that says what people would like to bring and to come at 7.
So if we have cocktails, it'll make that list go so much more smoothly.
That will not be happening. I think it turned,
Strawberry bars.
it was mostly dessertish, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I just
Yeah.
didn't want to imply
so,
So we
dinner.
each bring something?
yeah. So
And-
maybe
and-
Tim, you could send out something and we'll each respond by what we'll bring.
Okay. Is this,
December
14th.
16th, 14th?
you, I, last year felt a little rushed.
Hmm.
So 6,
Want to do
30?
45 minutes?
sure, let's do 45 minutes.
I just felt like
Yeah, yeah, no,
by
I
the
think that's a
time
good idea.
we got here and
Do we
Mm.
have this
And we-
room before? Or, so you're thinking
fi-
of
the
getting
fin-
started earlier than
Fi-
some?
Finance meets the same night. They meet at 6. They're usually
They're done by
done
6:45.
very quickly. I can write and,
We can always
No.
share our potluck with them if they're still here.
yeah, well,
Bring
there you
extra
go.
goodies?
So can I adjourn the meeting?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Second?
I don't think anyone's recording that.
we're adjourned at what?
You might wanna write that down too, 'cause our
9:28.
secretary.
We had
All
wine
right,
last time, didn't we?
Thank you
We
all.
brought wine.
Good,
No, I
good
don't think
discussion.
I thought we had a sparkling wine or something.
Appreciate it.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Nope,
Okay.
we're done. Meeting's over. You can chit chat.
If you wanna bring wine, you could bring